The AMC Pacer is one of the most recognizable American cars of the 1970s, and not necessarily for good reasons. This rolling fishbowl built by the American Motors Corporation was their new futuristic take on an economy car for Americans in the throes of the gas crisis. It was divisively styled pretty slow and had next to no rust-proofing. Yet AMC still managed to sell just over 250,000 of them from 1975 to 1980. And what if I told you that a handful of those Pacers were not built as economy cars, but built as period performance monsters with big fender flares, big wheels, and an even bigger 401 cubic inches in AMC V8 lifted directly from their police cruisers? Those few cars were the absolutely manic Carl Green Enterprises Pacers. And trust me, this is not a story that you're going to want to miss. Now, why anyone would choose a Pacer as the platform of choice to build their most famous work on is beyond me, but that is exactly why Carl Green likely did it. Because the Pacer was the performance underdog that nobody saw coming. Carl got his automotive career started working for custom car builders like Darryl Starrard and Dean Jeff. Then he parlayed his years of experience working with the best in the custom car scene to start his own shop called Carl Green Enterprises in the mid-1970s. It was here where he would undertake the arduous task of making the Pacer cool, which would prove to be more difficult than most cars, because the Pacer, if you didn't know, is an asymmetrical car. The standard two-door hatchback Pacer actually has a passenger side door that is a whole 4 inches longer than the driver's side door. The thought behind this was that when parallel parked on the side of the road, passengers would be able to get in and out easier through the larger passenger side opening, which would be near the curb. This was a cool idea and concept, but that meant that working on designing exterior modifications for the Pacer, this had to be considered unlike with basically every other car ever. In the early days of the Pacer, the power plant was also going to be a challenge that had to be overcame. The AMC inline-6 under the hood of the stock Pacer was extremely reliable, but it only made about 90 horsepower in its base trim, which for a 3,000-pound car was barely enough to get out of its own way, especially with 4 people in it. But in spite of that, the car was selling well. Hot Rod Magazine and Period wanted to have a little fun with the AMC Pacer fun that would put Carl Green Enterprises on the map. See, Hot Rod wanted to build a performance Pacer for the magazine as a series of articles. So they enlisted the help of Carl Green and Randall AMC. Now, if you're not aware of Randall AMC, basically consider them the Yanko of the American motors world. They were the IT dealership for building the fast AMC cars, and they were previously the ones behind the insane Gremlin 401 XR, which we've already done a video on. A brand new Pacer was ordered to Randall AMC, who used their subsidiary company, Randall Engineering, to facilitate a motor swap to wake the little Pacer up. The 258 cubic inch inline-6 was yanked out and replaced with a 401 cubic inch AMC V8 and a torque flight automatic. This newly transplanted 401 made 255 horsepower, which represented a major improvement over the inline-6 in terms of horsepower and, most of all, usable torque, certainly enough to blow the skinny stock tires right off. And this meant that it was time for the magazine car to go to Carl Green Enterprises for some custom bodywork, mainly to help fit the car with tires that could handle the torque from the 401. Carl Green worked his magic and created a full custom ground effects kit for the Pacer that included fender flares, a new front air dam, wider wheels, and bigger tires that truly set the Pacer apart in the looks department. Now it was no longer just quirky. It had a little bit of muscle behind it, and it looked considerably stompier than it did before. On the magazine car, they also swapped out the back windows of the Pacer for custom fiberglass window covers, which greatly reduced the Pacer's fishbowl look and also cut down on interior temperatures from baking in the sun with all that glass. Even without the performance upgrades, once the Carl Green custom body kit for the Pacer made it into the public eye, people couldn't get enough of it. Green and his team began offering mold-on fiberglass versions of their signature body kit for these cars to other AMC dealers to equip on customer vehicles. you would have to reach out to either Randall Engineering or Carl Greed Enterprises to have your own turnkey 401 powered wide-body Pacer because, well, you actually couldn't just get a new 401 in an AMC car post 1974 unless you were ordering an AMC police car or certain Jeep products that came with said 401. You had to have a dealer that was in the know to get a 401 and let alone put it into a Pacer, and Randall AMC was that dealer. When the magazine car project had finally concluded, Hot Rod Magazine took the car with the finished 401 and the Carl Green bodywork to the track, and the results were night and day compared to a stock Pacer. Even with the extra couple hundred pounds of curb weight added by the big 401 and all the extra fiberglass on the body kit, the car was still able to rip off a 14.2-second 4-mile at 96 miles per hour, with, get this, a 273 rear gear ratio. A simple gear swap would have easily brought the Pacer into 13s in the quarter, which for a new car in the mid-1970s was pretty damn impressive, let alone for a Pacer. The euphoria around this project emboldened Carl Green to continue down the Pacer modification path, which would see its next iteration in 1978 when the Pacer Wagon launched. The Pacer Wagon, just so, happened to lend itself better to being converted into an El Camino-style truck car, which is exactly what Green did. The upper roof area of the wagon was LP-peeped off, and now the body lines followed down to a small pickup truck bed that would have been perfect for transporting those little odds and ends that you needed to, or even a mini Ike. It was a usable mini truck for the person who didn't want an actual pickup. AMC dealers loved this idea because it was ideated as a limited-run vehicle for dealers, which meant it gave them healthy margins on these little trucks at a time when AMC dealers and AMC as a whole was struggling quite badly. Unfortunately, AMC top brass never fully green-lit the project, and only a handful of prototypes were built, including one really cool one that actually had a full 4x4 swap underneath. But after that debacle, that was really, as far as I can tell, the end for Carl Green's involvement with AMC at that level. He worked on customizing various other cars over the years in one-off projects, including some pretty crazy Dodge Ram-based custom trucks. Unfortunately, there was almost no literature out there regarding production numbers on the Carl Green AMC cars and the body kits. I would have to estimate that there weren't very many made back in the 70s, and at most there are probably only a couple still out there today given how many AMC cars have been junked over the years, which is a shame because these wild little Pacers might just be some of the coolest cars of the era that nobody knows about. I always love a good car underdog story, and this really is one of the coolest. An obsession with modifying a car that never really had any cool factor to it, and making it cool is a heavy lift all in itself, but I'd say Carl Green pulled it off. But what do you think? Do you think these little wide-body V8 Pacers are rad, or were they just a fad? Comment down below. And also please make sure that you are subscribed to the Formula Fury YouTube channel and smash that notification bell for more documentary-style videos just like this on the world's most interesting cars. Until next time, enthusiasts.